like to welcome Jeff Connor back to our monthly series by popular demand. The first 3 months of responses have been off the charts. And so we said, all right, let's bring Jeff back. So Jeff, thank you so much for joining. Jeff has led sales and corporate account teams for many years, globally, at the corporate level, division level. Jeff, how about a quick soundbite on your background, and let's get into today's topic.
So 30 plus years in the B2B world, many of them with one company. I was the first chief growth officer for Aramark, which my primary responsibilities were client relationships, client renewal, and customer acquisition. And even now to this day, that's how I spend my time in semi-retirement.
Well, through 3 videos, you never mentioned 30 years, and now in the fourth one you did. So now people are beginning to do the math on our combined ages here. We talked about in the previous videos account health and managing strong and at-risk accounts with COVID, and today we want to kind of take a step back and look at, when you manage a B2B organization. And COVID has thrown a monkey wrench into everything about business. No one alive has a playbook and a roadmap on how to deal with this. And I remember when mid-March hit, I think everybody was just frozen for the first week. And now I think you can sense that companies are beginning to get a bit in their stride. Zoom meetings have replaced not meeting in person, but not to the level that is needed. You don't hear anyone having conference calls anymore, just phone conference calls. It's now all video. So we kind of have a new normal. And Jeff, would love your take on, how do we operate successfully and effectively moving forward? Because we're probably going to be in this world for at least 9 to 12 months to some level.
Yeah, I think, first of all, I didn't have to lead in a situation like this. So kudos to all the leaders out there that are trying to deal with this. And I don't think there is a playbook, and I don't profess to have a playbook, but I think there's a couple of walkaways that you can really think about. The client or customer's needs haven't changed. They still need the same data, information, insights, innovation, market knowledge, competitor knowledge, all of those things. That hasn't changed at all. What has changed is the face-to-face meeting is probably not going to be the same in the foreseeable future. I'm not sure, to be honest with you, the jobs that people like I had where you traveled, 3 or 4 days a week, every week of the year to different customer sites. I'm not sure those are even going to exist.
I agree.
I think the companies that get ahead are using the tools. Look, Zoom's a great example, right? We had Zoom before COVID, but overnight, something like Zoom became the way every team communicated, right? Or something like that, whether they're using Microsoft or Google products, doesn't matter to me. But now you got to go back and say, look, if my client relationship is based on 3 or 4 component parts, one, how am I doing to the current set of performance? What's going on with the team or the folks that are executing on the contract? Kind of the basic kind of what's going on, current performance. And the second piece being the innovation. You're going to have to find a way to do that with much more limited face-to-face interaction. I just don't think there's any way around it. And I think the companies that get ahead and educate their clients as to what they think the ideal is. So look, if you used to have quarterly business reviews, I think you should have them, but you're going to have to, they can't be 4 hours long on Zoom with 25 people. It's just not effective. So do you break the communication up into different bite-sized elements and have a financial performance review with the financial client and perhaps a user or consumer review with the folks that are deeply attached to that? Is there a different set of review? Is there a different cadence? Is there a different way of scheduling it? And when do you want to use face-to-face? And you would use that, I think, for the most strategic higher level, but how often would that be? Once a year now? Twice a year, depending on if you're not on site? And if you have people on site every day, as we did, or most of my clients do, or interact every day, how do you feed them to a different level of escalating where their relationship used to be kind of the baseline and every quarter other people would come in? Now you want to say, look, you're going to have to carry a bit of a different load because if it didn't before, and it did, the brand of the company and the relationship of the company and the value of the partnership is going to come through them in a different way than it has before.
It's very interesting. And you mentioned likely won't be face-to-face. And maybe a positive, what we're finding, the core of our business is doing interviews, B2B interviews with senior executives. And when COVID hit, we were really getting uneasy. I mean, if we can't reach executives, we're really at a standstill. And we have found all through COVID, executives are more open and available. I mean, they have time. They're not traveling. They're not commuting to the office. It's almost shocking how quickly some of our work is going because these executives have some extra time.
Yeah, and I think, again, as people get used to the tool, I mean, it's funny because I don't think the world would have caught on to Zoom quite as it has if it hadn't been for COVID, right?
Right.
So video conferencing has been around for a while, right? FaceTime and some of the other ones have all been there and people hardly use them. But now we're used to them, right? You have the right background behind you, like your corporate headquarters or the city of Chicago. But I think people are also getting their communication skills up. Look, my personal read is Zoom is 75% as effective as being there in person, but it's so the 75%, you got to try to get it to 85, but you also got to find the different ways to connect. And I think some of this is compartmentalization. So look, you can have a business review about current performance and stop and come back and have a business review only about innovation or ideas or market or competitive intelligence and or research and bringing that point of view. Again, so you can break it into bite-sized bullets,
Right.
where we tended to think of whatever the rhythm and cadence any organization use. The most common is quarterly, or they have a monthly and then a quarterly or an annual or something. I think you can break that apart and rethink about it. What if it's in different segments? What if it's just cut a little differently in terms of audience to get people where they have more of a voice than they would have had in person because they're in smaller groups? And you take the 75% from Zoom and you actually make that 110% because you're doing more of them, but you're doing them with select groups that you get a better voice and a better understanding and better connectivity.
That's a great way of thinking, taking 75 to 110%. And I think if, probably some of the groups within a corporation that'll take on more prominence would be the marketing, the communications, groups that are accustomed to putting together presentations and applying their skill sets to how can you have more effective Zoom meetings and presentations. And you're right, you could put things in bite-sized pieces, have them more frequently, and that really can increase the interactions.
What would stop you from having a client panel done by Zoom where you have multiple clients on there? I haven't thought through it all the way myself, but I think the creativity of how you could use this in a different way to provide value to multiple people. And I'm not saying Zoom's the answer or this is the only answer. I'm saying, look, here we're learning that everybody's getting used to this tool. Who's being proactive about designing the cadence, the content, and the audience to optimize the relationship with the client? And look, it's hard to find the balance. You can't do a lot, but if you're breaking people into smaller groups and you save maybe the annual thing for a very big event, I think you can get a lot done and get a lot better insights and a lot better feedback from the client. And anytime you as a supplier understand them better and you understand what they're trying to achieve, you're going to be a better partner by default, because you're not going to just be thinking about my next product that I've got to convince them is the right answer. You're actually being a partner because you understand their landscape. And I think that's just a big piece of what we've got to do in the new world order. Even better, even if you were good at it before, you got to be better at it in the future.
And Jeff, we'll leave it at that. These are great insights. And I think the big takeaway is none of us really know the future, but we know enough that we need to be acting and thinking differently. And there are opportunities to go from 75% to 110%. Jeff, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure
Thank you, Rick.
involved with us over the past 4 months, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
All right.